What's up, people, and welcome back to another video. This is the first part of an interview I did with Kean Lewis, who is a professional footballer for Bengaluru FC in the ISL and who has also played for clubs like Mohun Bagan, Delhi Dynamos, Pune City FC, along with stints abroad. So make sure you watch this whole video to know about his journey and to get a better insight into the world of football. Also, if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and comment down below what you think I should be asking these professionals. Also, turn on the bell icon so that you get notified when I post part 2 of this interview. Make sure you follow Kean on all his social platforms and subscribe to his YouTube channel, link in the description. Welcome to Tiki-Taka, the show where you tell the world your story. So we have different sections, and each section is titled something football related. The first section is called Back Pass. In this section, we're going to be taking it back to the past to how it all started for Kean Lewis and how things grew and all. So that's my first question to you. How did it all start for you?
It started maybe in school, really. I was always an athletic kid, very hyper. So over the summer, over school time, during school, after school, my parents had to find something for me to do. During the summer, it was always send them for camps or go for checking camps, or majority of the camps ended up being football camps. And then in the football team, I come from a small city called Thane. So our school wasn't so, like motivated in the sports arena. And we were not having too many competitions that we were playing. It was only maybe district tournament. And at that time, we were in the MSSA. But that was the only two leagues, that tournaments that we really played. And district was knockout, MSSA was knockout. So the moment you lost, the season was done. So I started playing in school, and we had our principal that changed, and she was a principal coming from one of the South Bombay schools, Champion. And the South Bombay schools, as you know, Don Bosco, Stanislaus, Champion, Cathedral, all of them were really good in sports and really good in football. So when he came to my school here in Thane, his window where he sat, his office, apparently faced our football field, or the ground that we had. Basically, it was the ground that we played everything in. So he happened to watch us train one of the days, and then he saw me playing. So the next day, he called me to the office and spoke to me, saying that, why don't you go somewhere else, try out, and that kind of stuff. So that happened to be the first trigger as to why I started, looking outside of the city to pursue football. So the first step, I think, after that push was my parents said, okay, we'll send you for camps. So over the summer, I went for different kinds of camps. I excelled in the camps. After that, our school the following year won the MSSA, and I kind of made headlines in the papers and got some coverage. The year we made the title and, won the league, my coach and everywhere, like from the MSSA as well, had selected players from each school to come out for the state trials. So that's when I first came to the state trials, and these, like, I was a small fish in the ocean, where these guys were all big schools, big teams. Every team had about 5 players representing, their school, and I was the only one representing from my school. So that's the first time. Then I went played Maharashtra, and from there on, then step by step, kind of my parents also had a big part to play, and they were more encouraging after that and started to send me out. I was with Mahindra for the next 5 years. So started off mostly in school, and then over the summer it would be with the academies in South Bombay, which is now known as PIFA. I was with them. During school it would be with Mahindra and my school team.
That's an amazing story, and that's one of the reasons why I chose to ask you for this interview, because it's so relatable to a lot of us. From there on, how did it move into professionally? I know that you went to the US, and I know a lot of people don't know that. But so how did it move from that point in your life to professional football?
After I played with Mahindra for 5 years, we went for a tournament. I went to TFA. At that point, TFA was the best residential academy in India, and every footballer wanted to be there. So two of us from Mahindra happened to get selected, and we were there. Uh, but for me, I come from a background where everyone is educationally and academically profound and qualified. So for me, the deal at home was always uh, if you maintain your grades, if you continue school, you can go play whatever you want. Whether it was exam time, whether it was throughout school, 8th, 9th, 10th, whatever standard I was, as long as I get the grades, no complaint from school, fine, you can play wherever you want. But I think that's the kind of concept I developed in our household, saying that, okay, even if it's exam time, doesn't mean you study for 18, 19, 20 hours, 2 days before the exam. Study for 6, 7 hours, go play for an hour, go play for 2 hours. So that culture was always there. I think a lot of kids now, if you ask them what do they do in exam time, they're going to say the way they get off their study hours is by playing video games. But growing up, uh, I never, got into that habit of playing video games. Even till now, I don't play PS or whatever. So I think that was one phase where uh, I battled at TFA because um, TFA was in Jharkhand and it's a complete different state where the education system is different. So I came from an ICSC school, completing my 10th. Because I wanted to be in TFA, I moved to a CBSC board. So for the first 3 months in college, I was in a ISC, but the college allowed me to go to TFA and say, look, we will allow you to skip your attendance and you can just come down for exams. So from ISC, I moved to state board, HSC, and they were like, okay, fine, you just come for exams. The rest of the time you can be in the academy. So I completed that there, and then my 11th, 12th got completed in my first 2 years at TFA, and the TFA contract was for 4 years, which I had another 2 years to go. But in terms of education, after my 12th, there was no place for me to go and say I won't attend college and I'll be at the academy. So majority of the guys who came to TFA were in the mindset that look, we have nothing else to fall back on. It's make it or break it for us here. So we're going to put all our energy here, and we have to make it big because after we graduate 4 years, we have to go into the I League, which at that time was only the league going on. So for me, that wasn't a possibility coming from my ground because there's no professional athlete from my house. So after that, they decided to send me abroad. And as you might know, there were previous attempts for me to go abroad as well with Leicester, and then a couple of years later with an Italian academy called Ascoli. But both of them didn't work out. So finally, now I was a proper adult. I was about 17 and a half, and when I went, I completed becoming 18. So that was the only transition where I would be allowed to go by myself abroad and stay alone. The other two places required my whole family to be lifting up base in my city and then coming to a new country. So they didn't want to do that at that point when I was 13 and when I was 15. So the next opportunity came when I was 17, and that's how I went to the US. So I played there because they recruited me based on my footballing skills, but simultaneously I was getting a degree that wasn't available in India at that point. So that was one of the reasons I also agreed to go there because I said if I'm staying in India and studying something, I don't want it to be something that I'm not enjoying. So even if I pull out of TFA and I come back home and they say, look, complete your college or get a degree, I didn't want it to be in something I'm not really interested in doing. So I got a degree that I wanted to do, and I got a program that gave me a scholarship to play football for them. So that was my first big transition from India to another country. And then I played there, I worked there, I studied there for about 5.5, 6 years. And towards the end of the 6th year, it was coming to make another big decision, which is whether I want to come back to India and play football or whether I wanted to stay in the US and continue working. And because of the visa structure there, I had to I would be able to play, but my work would take a priority over my playing, which is what I didn't want. So, which is why I left my job there. I left whatever I was working for, and I decided to come back and try playing here in India. And when I came back, um, I had actually come to BFC first to try out for them. But at that point, things didn't work out for the trial. They were not in season yet because it was not I-League preseason yet. So the guys were on leave, and it so happened to be that CFL was going on. So the Mohun Bagan and the Kolkata clubs were having trials for the CFL before they started the CFL, and then I happened to go there. And then after trying out with them, they were willing to offer me a contract, and that's how my professional career in India began.
That's amazing. The journey from education and football, that's amazing. And that's something that I feel that is looked down in India. Either you choose football or you choose your studies. There's no in between.
Yeah, that's major pressure that is coming because that's the structure that we've all grown up in. I feel we've not learned how to harmoniously manage and live with playing and education.
Yeah, that's true. But you showed it's possible even in India, so that's fair.
Yeah, it is possible. It's not really not possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to the next section, I call it remontada, and because this section is all about comebacks and motivational stories. But in that, the first question I want to ask you is, how important do you think mental health is in football?
That's one of, I would say, the most important thing. I think besides your skill and talent, which to an extent is God given, and you can't really um, change that because if you have a skill in something and you are inclined and you're good at it, you can only improve it, which then puts into consideration your hard work and your mental strength. But um, mentally, for any sport, injury, opponents, setbacks, failures, success, all of that shape your mental structure and the way you behave and your personality. Some people like success gets to their head, they say, and then
Yeah.
that brings you down. Injury can be a big setback, and then you're demotivated. It takes more time for you to recover. So, in fact, I'm doing a sports psychology course during
Wow.
this period, and it just gives you an insight to see how just simple things can cause an injury or help you recover from an injury or get you extra motivated to go the extra mile.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, the next question is a little more personalized. The biggest challenge you have faced and how have you dealt with that?
I think there are a few challenges that I would have faced. One of it was in terms of cultural change. I would say my transitions from here to the US, and then the second part of that would be US back to here. Because I went from here, not knowing how to function abroad, and I was living by myself. I had to do everything by myself, my bills, my registration for classes, um, how the structure of football works there, with fitness test, timing, um, the the way the game was played, how I had to change my position because I was all my life here in India. When I before going, I was a striker, and once I went there, given my skill set, they said we need you to play a winger. So then getting acclimatized to that. So it was a lot of changes at once, but majority I had to change in the cultural aspect. And it was the same when I came back because I was there for 6 years. I was used to the system. Everything was, you could freely speak with the management, whether it was salary, negotiations, reporting dates, training programs, injury, whatever. It was very open and pretty much transparent. And when I came back here, it was again, where do I stay? How do I come to training? What are the facilities? When do we get paid? What is the amount? All of that kind of thing was again a shift. That was in terms of culture where, it changed for me because there were other aspects that changed as well. In terms of getting into football, another challenge, because like I told you, my family, nobody is in the sports or nobody is from a sports background. For me to convince them that I will go into professional sports, there wasn't much support. Everyone was more of go get an office job because educationally and mentally I was smart. So there was no reason that I wasn't going to get a job. And I worked a couple of jobs here. I interned a couple of jobs here. I worked in the US, and there was no problem getting those jobs. And I was able to manage them. But I just didn't like the routine of sitting 9 to 5. So I think convincing them for me to go into sports where I'll be able to earn enough or, be able to have a team or be able to have that job for a few years was another challenge. But I think that was one of the smaller challenges that I had to overcome. But it was a new field of how I would convince them, and how I would go about explaining to them because the future is uncertain, and I don't know whether I'll get a club, I'll not get a club, what I'm going to get paid, whether I'm going to play, not play, all of that. So that was a big uncertainty when it came to convincing them. In terms of football, my biggest challenge would be, the turnaround I had at Pune because I was coming from Delhi and Mohun Bagan where I had a relatively decent season. And coming into Pune, they were expecting me, and there was a lot of pressure for me to be playing in the first 11 there. And then right off the bat, starting preseason with not starting, I would say midway preseason, I had an injury. And that changed everything, the dynamics of my recovery, the relationships with my teammates, the coach, the management. And my recovery period was longer than expected. My injury was, a little complex one where it was not simple to just be like, okay, you're out for 3 months or 3 weeks and you'll be back this date. It's more like, okay, after 1 month, we'll analyze you again, this, that, and that took like a lot more time than estimated. So mentally, it was draining for me and everyone else who were awaiting my return and when I'm going to be back. The physios were like, we're doing everything. My teammates are like, when are you going to come back? The coaches, when are you? So that kind of was very difficult, was a big challenge. And, ultimately I got back from the injury. I got back to training really and everything, but then the season didn't go that well for me. As an athlete or as a player, that plays on your mind. You've not played enough games, you've been injured. They want to maybe loan you out. They want to get you to transfer. Maybe will you get a team next year or not? So that plays in your mind. So that's where then all your mental strength and all your belief in yourself has to be put into focus, and you have to just keep doing whatever you do and not worry.
That leads me on well to my next question. In those periods where it was really difficult, how did you manage to stay mentally strong? Like, what did you keep telling yourself in order to stay positive?
I think my family supports me a lot, since they've been convinced now I'm into this field. There's not a time when there is no support from my family, whether it's injury, whether I'm not playing, whether I have an issue, whether I am upset about something or we've lost the game or whatever it is. They've always been there to support me, whether it's simple messages, calls or anything. And also in that time frame when I was kind of down, I picked up different habits which would make me mentally stronger, like yoga, meditation, breathing, some simple kinds of things which I could do while I was at a health issue. And I think that helped me recover.
All right. That's good. Okay, that ends the second section, and now we move into the third section, which is called Gegenpressing. And like the name suggests, this is a quick fire, rapid fire round. Okay, so you have to answer as fast as you can, and the first thing that comes into your head. Okay, the first question is childhood hero or inspiration.
Steven Gerrard.
Okay, this is from some of my Instagram followers. I told them I would be interviewing you, and they sent in their questions. Okay, so at RT21_MUFC, at Tushar Ankle, and at Aditosh Murthy 21, they ask, would you rather be a key player for a lower team or a bit part player for a top team?
It's a very good question. I would be a key player for a lower team.
All right. Most difficult defender you have ever faced?
Does that include Indians and foreigners or
Yes. Most
only
difficult
Indians?
defender you have ever faced in your career?
Julio Batista.
Okay. That's
When
world
I
class
played
level.
him, I mean, yeah, but he is more of a, when we played them in the US, he was more of a defensive mid player.
Okay.
So, I mean, that counts as a defensive player.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is from another Instagram follower of mine at Punky_6 asks, would you rather have a badass beard or an amazing jawline?
Jawline, I guess,
Because you already have the beard.
because now I have the beard.
Exactly. All right. Who is faster, Udanta or Kean Lewis?
Udanta, any day.
All right. Who is the skills master in training?
In BFC would be Edmund.
Okay. One of the younger players.
Yeah, one of the younger players.
Okay. Who is the funniest member of the squad?
I would say Gurpreet.
Okay. I didn't expect that. The big man, huh?
He's got some good jokes.
All right. The next question is, who spends the most time in front of the mirror before games and after games?
Before games and after games, I don't know. But in general, maybe Ashik.
Sorry?
Ashik.
Oh, Ashik. Okay. Okay. Another question from another follower of mine at Soham_Kalgatkar7 asks, would you rather live for 20 more years from now with no regrets or for 50 years from now but with a lot of regrets?
20 years with no regrets.
All right. Okay. Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Best moment in your career till date?
It's a tough one. Probably when I played with Houston Dynamo and we played one of the teams from Brazil.
Okay. That's quite interesting because I thought it would be something like winning the ISL.
Yeah, I mean, the teams that I played abroad against were much more difficult and much more challenging. I think the players we played and the team I played with there was very different in terms of what we play in the ISL. So I think winning the ISL would be one of the highlights of my career as well. But for me, the best moment, if you would say winning the ISL and me scoring a goal to win it, then that would be my the biggest achievement and the biggest moment in my career. But otherwise, I would pick the time with Dynamo because at that time I was in the MLS and we were playing. I was playing with the academy team, playing against Division 1 team that came from Brazil, which had Julio Batista and playing in that. So in that game, I had a goal and I had and an assist.
Wow, that's really good. Okay, the last question in this quick fire round. Best advice you have ever received?
Yeah, I would say maybe my university coach. I was coming from India, which was a different culture and everything. And he always said like, no matter what people say and what they tell you to do, be true to yourself and put in the work, whether people are looking or not looking. And at some point, you will reap the benefits of it. So just be patient about it.
All right. Okay, with that, we end the gegenpressing section. So you can relax now. But we move into the next section that I call halftime tactics.